So last night at your lecture on idolatry, you made this really interesting suggestion. You said that idols are like mirrors. Can you say more what that means?
Yeah, so I'm stealing that from a French philosopher named Jean-Luc Marion, who it's just but it is a really interesting concept, which is he says that in a way, when something functions as an idol for us, what happens is, in a way, our sort of hopes and expectations, our gaze, as he puts it, lands on the thing, and it gets reflected back to us, so that really what we see in the idol is ourselves in some ways. So that another way to understand what's going on in idolatry, to try to diagnose it, is to say almost all forms of idolatry end up being forms of self-reliance, or forms where we are projecting images of ourselves. And it's a little bit why, like Augustine says, the root of all idolatry is pride, right? There's a sense in which self-love, and what happens is in the dynamics of idolatry, you get sort of locked into this echo chamber of self-regard, even if actually you experience it as this paralysis of self-consciousness because you're worried that everybody is looking at you. In a sense, though, what's going on is you're sort of locked in this cycle. So Marion then contrasts idols with what he calls icons, which is a historic way of thinking of images differently. If an idol is a mirror, where you now get sort of in this claustrophobic cycle, the icon is a window. And it's a window in two senses. I see through it to God who's behind, but it's also that God is looking back at me. I'm seen by God. And so we break out of this claustrophobic echo chamber of self-regard. And the reason why I think that's significant is it really is a way to think about why it's not that the things of creation are bad, right? It's not that the things of creation are evil. It's when we sort of glob onto them with disordered expectations. If you receive them as the gifts that God has given to us, now all of a sudden they work in such a way that they lead you to God. They point you to God. And I just think that that's a very suggestive way to help people think about why creation is a gift, but you can't over-expect from it, in a sense. And that might help young people to think about, we don't have to demonize these things that we're talking about, but you also can't idolize them.
Right.